Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Pep Talks. Today's Friday, the 8th of April. Thank God it's Friday. The weekend is here. Hallelujah. Hadassah, good morning. How are you? You're looking all bright and chipper.
Yes. I have been really trying, doing a lot of, positive thinking and, you know, affirmatives and stuff like that. I want to
Yoga.
know how you are doing because I am wondering how come everybody who live in Porterspin and environs have not like mutated into some type of subhuman
Yeah.
or something like that after having to exhale the smoke and the fumes coming off of that literal dumpster fire. I mean,
You
can
worry
you
about
tell me?
water spray, we should worry about sea lots. Then would I get a full blast?
Can you did you see it? Did you experience any part of it?
I had a meeting yesterday in Grab and Go, and when the meeting finished and I came outside to get something to eat, and I looked outside, I was seeing black. That's all I saw, black. So I was like, what? But since last night, not last night, day before night, after I took the children out and I got something to eat, and we were going home late in the evening, you could have seen that something was on fire. I just didn't know what it was. So all the way when I was going around the savannah thing, you see any smoke, but it wasn't that black. It was like gray, but you could tell something was on fire. So I was like, fire service must be out it because look at white. And
Yeah.
then the next day you hear the feces, the fecal matter wastewater treatment is what was on fire. And I was just like, that is human shit. That is human feces. That is bacteria, germs, ethanol, all there. And then we have the gall, the audacity, the evilness, the demonic possession of the chief of fire service and those ranking people to send a crew to out that fire
Propagate.
without proper PPE. And to go in something like that, they were supposed to be covered from head to toe in gear. So none of that could seep in. And under that, they would have had their uniform, then the overall, and then probably like those, like what those fishermen does wear when they're going in the swamp, those huge pull-up rubber things all the way up here
I know what you're
in the
talking
state.
about. Yeah.
That they would have worn that over that, so it would have been easy to just hose off after. And of course, your proper breathing apparatus and your gear, so they wouldn't be inhaling that, right? You don't have the breathing apparatus to send them in fire, house fire, building fire. So why we send them inside of there?
Well, I think the answer is that we really didn't have anybody else to respond to
Yes,
that. But
yes,
this
we
is
did, Hadassah. We did. Where's the Bambi bucket and the air guard?
right.
Where's that? They were supposed to dump sand on that, or loads of dry chemical or some kind of thing. What it is we doing?
No, but Limbs, this takes us right back to the divers. It also takes us back to uh the 12-hour blackout. We are a country where we are never prepared for anything. We don't look ahead. We allow things to happen and then realize that we are grossly unprepared and under equipped to deal with it. And then the general behavior, right? The general attitude is, another day in Trinidad and Tobago. We are a country where every week something of significance happens. It's either something with the environment, either something with crime, some domestic violence, something significant happens that did not have to happen if we had the right people in place, the right systems, the right training. But we just go about our days with our fingers crossed, hoping that nothing bad happens. And then when something bad happens, realize that we're not in any position to treat with it. I am not surprised, Lemma. I'm not surprised. I am thinking today of the men and women who would have had to go in to deal with that and the consequences of that on their lives, on their health, you know. But again, is there any contingency plan in place for them in events something like this happens? No, because this is Trinidad and Tobago. No other country in the world, no other country in the world would this be allowed to take place and to happen, right? And if it does happen, I mean, seriously, from the top to the bottom, everybody would be activated to get answers and to make sure that everything is done to make sure it never happens again. I'm just reading that the residents in Beetham is saying, but landfill fires is a normal thing, is a regular event. They say this one was particularly like big, but it's not something they're not accustomed to. And what a thing to become accustomed to, right?
No, but then people will jump in and ball well until you like Fitzgerald Hines kind of representation or whatever the case is. But Hadassah, you can imagine the state them fire officers come out in, smelling terrible, covered in that. You know, if that was me, I was going and jump on the chief back, you know.
If it was you,
hug him up, you know, and let he get some of that smell too, because that is crazy. I can't believe that. And then you have them going there. All you send them this morning for any kind of medical checkup or any doctor come to see them on thing to see what you could do. Take some charcoal tablets, drink milk, do a detox tea, you know, all kind of things to cleanse your blood and your body, because you could pick up so much nasty bacteria from that and be sick till you could die.
Yeah, but it's not only that. Do we have any system in place where fire officers, who it is their job to go into to fires and stuff like that, do we have any system in place where every 6 months they get a regular
They're
checkup?
supposed to go for medicals every year, but I don't know if
like that.
Actually
right. So if they're supposed to, I'm talking about the government itself, the service itself undertaking that responsibility to ensure that our men are at their healthiest. And look, Daniel Marshall saying our firemen don't have insurance. So that's what I'm saying.
That's why I spoke about it yesterday in the video. You saw the video where I mentioned they wouldn't even try to inspire these men by saying, right, we will take out our life insurance policy to the tune of this. So when you get your gratuity, that gratuity money is not to go in towards your health, but you could do whatever the hell you want with your gratuity. Your life insurance is there for you to do what you need to get.
That's what I'm saying. We're not preparing for any residual effects, which they will come. They will come. Even the people who work at swim call, who work in the dump, right? There is data that shows that after you worked in an environment for a certain amount of years, you develop, if it's breathing problems or whatever, and there is nothing in place for them. So we just allow people to get sick and to die. You pay them horribly, and then you give them a hard time to get their pension. That is life in Trinidad.
And then you have a jackass like Darren Decent trying to fool the public and think, no, those fire officers it's not the service fault, it's the fire officers, it's them doing the wrong thing. Right? Because if you could come out and lie and say it ain't no shortage and the fire officer collapsed before he gets into the fire and all that bullshit, it means that you are looking for a scapegoat to blame it on instead of putting the blame where it's supposed to be.
A scapegoat, or in the case of the report of the 12-hour blackout on February 18th, nobody's to blame. Public Utilities Minister Marvin Gonzalez says nobody is responsible. No heads will roll. Nobody is culpable. whatever. So you would have done a report, you would have gone up the chain of
Well, then what
command,
is the point of doing the report then if you know
and
you wasn't
then
going to
and
do that?
then nobody is responsible. No department, nobody who was supposed to be monitoring or anything. And that is
Marvin
Trinidad and Tobago.
Gonzalez is just as useless as Fitzgerald Hines now.
Lems, I don't know if it was in horror or pride or whatnot, but I looked at what I would call any excuse for a fete, right? For the celebration of blacks. Now I have to say I'm very happy that he had such a wonderful send-off, because oftentimes we don't,
We
really
don't
take
treat them
care
good alive. We wait till you're
of
dead.
our artists and whatnot. I would have really preferred if he would have gotten the support. He would have been such an incredible mentor where the art form is concerned, in terms of learning the technical aspects of soca, what makes a good soca and things like that. He did not get the support, but he got a hell of a fete for his funeral. And I look at the hundreds and thousands of people chipping behind his hearse, and I'm like, but these same people will not come out to protest for the blackout, or to protest for the divers, or to protest for what happened in the landfill yesterday. And I am like, this is why we are in our monkey pants.
But
Because we
Hadassah,
only
those
care
same people,
to fed.
those same fools would not come out if Blacks was alive. And he said he having problems in the industry because of how dark he is, because of how big he is. Because those were the problems Blacks faced. He was always told he will never make it. He will never do good, this, that, the other, till they cheat him for Soca Monarch and Road March already. And I believe more than once.
Yeah.
Just the same way they cheat Cass, they cheat Black several times. Because
Yeah.
Black has had quite a few songs that everybody say should have been Road March.
Yeah.
Also,
And then of course coming to Papi show with the send off. And I'm like, but this is not genuine. Where was this man's flowers when he was alive? When he would have been such a great ambassador for the industry, for
and he
carnival,
was
for
a
tourism,
very
for
humble
culture.
bronze man, because you saw him all on Independence Square in Tongue. He always on the ground with the regular people. Look, Bolan saying the mayor was front and center. Yeah, well, that is all the mayor could do. You think he going and do what? Pour bins and pot bin so people wouldn't litter? Get the fountain to work in Woodford Square? No. Look how long the fountain around the Queen's Park Savannah by Queen's Hall not functioning. What is the purpose of having it there? Put the fountain on, and they're so dotish, they could have put it in such a way where it could have recycled water. So you're not pulling water from
No, it is the same water being recycled. Yeah.
You just make sure you put your chlorine tablets or whatever the case is to clean the pond or whatever the case is.
Yep.
That's good. But donkey logic in this country.
Yeah. I was that fire in the beat-up yesterday, it really triggered me, because since Philip has highlighted it, I've been thinking about it a lot. The fact that we are the only country where you have to literally drive through a landfill to get to the city. The fact that there have been people living in the area for years, inhaling that bad scent, inhaling the fumes, probably getting sick off of it.
So if we had a cruise ship yesterday, they would have been welcomed to Port of Spain. Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago. Smell that lovely shit.
Yeah.
Clog your nose. Get breathing problems. Visit our lung department in Port of Spain General Hospital before you leave.
Yeah. Exactly. About the report though, I really want to know. So how is it that we ensure that this does not happen again if nobody is culpable.
Which
If
report?
everybody,
The blackout?
yeah, if you know that literally you could have the worst day on the job, right? And the entire country is shut down and suffers for 12 hours and there's no repercussions. How then does the service improve? How does it get better?
Right. So if Keith had any balls whatsoever, I would have removed Marvin. I would have said, Marvin, that's not good enough. You're fired. Because I want that fixed. I want to know why that happened and I want heads rolled.
Yeah, how was it allowed to happen and to go for that long? I mean, there are rumblings of talk about the fact that they have to say that something happened when in truth and in fact it was the tea and tech workers who actually would have allowed the blackout to take place. They were protesting Keith Rowley wanting to get people, everybody wanted to get vaccinated and things like that. So apparently it was some type of protest to show that,
You know
hey,
what I also
we could
heard?
shut down the
That there was
country.
an explosion on the area that those where those generators are.
Right. So it
I
was what, a
heard that
safety issue?
because apparently those things down where the smelter where Manning was going and put the smelter, which is down Erin somewhere down there. I
Mm-hmm.
heard it had an explosion, and that was when everything went black.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And the report is
So
not going to the report is not going to tell us, because
no.
we know in Trinidad we do not have an administration that is above board and transparent with us.
Mm-hmm.
So we could only stay and speculate. But again, this is what happens when we have well, nobody's responsible. The buck has to stop somewhere.
When not with this government, and then the UNC useless because they can't even back hard enough to instill some sort of fear in the government. Right? So I don't know. I don't know because I don't know where we go in. Because we heading down a very dangerous slippery slope and people is ball, oh, you can't call the country a shithole. But yesterday was exact proof of that. The place where you dump our shit literally was on fire. That's a shithole.
Dumpster
How much
fire.
more of a red flag you need again? And we
Yeah.
send fire officers in that.
No, I think people really believe that these are isolated incidences. People really believe that what happened in the Beatum is not connected to what happened with the divers, is not connected to what happens with young people who die in, you could only assume, domestic violence and things like that. Then people don't see the connections, right? So it's like, well, you can't blame the government for that. But I'm like,
Blame them. And
who
you
do
see that? You see when people
who do
saying
we
shit like
blame?
that, I'd be like, you have to be brain dead. What's the point of having a government then if you can't blame your government for why you don't have electricity, why you don't have water, why you don't have affordable food, why you can't buy your own house,
Yeah.
why
And you
rent
see,
is so expensive?
these things that we just shrug off as normal, if there was a report that a landfill in New York City was on fire and whatnot, we'd be like, but New York, how they allow that to happen, right? Because somehow you expect better, a better standard, a higher standard. Why it is we do not put the same thing on our leaders here? Why it is that anything goes in Trinidad?
Because Trinidadians are racist, and you would see it more now because you notice anything PNM do, everybody hushing about it. But let it had been somebody else, they would have been up in arms over it. We are showing our nasty ways. Nasty, nasty ways.
I don't know. They talk about loyal to a fault. That is what it is. Loyal to a fault, where we actually continuing to uphold our oppressors. We continue to uphold the people who lie to us, who steal from us, literally stealing our futures.
Yes, yes. Yesterday also, when I went to pick up my glasses, I drove through I passed it on the Carnegie Savannah Road. I was like, let me go check out Central Fire Station, the front side, because I was by the back the last time. The side that they don't use apparently to come out on the highway, which I don't understand why. Makes no sense. When
David will be
I
on soon.
Okay. When I got there, you seen all the vehicles that derelict and no longer in use parked up all over the place. You know, they have a Jeep, right? Jeep, expensive Jeep that they mash up and they just park up there, right? They have truck, they have one set of fire trucks, one set of ambulances. And you're seeing it as soon as you drive in front of the station too. So when you bend the corner, you're seeing it there. And then you're seeing the vehicles that working. And behind those vehicles are ones that not working. You just park up there. And I was like, but there's like a museum. Right? So I took my pictures and I shared it. And then I went round the back. And when I was driving by the back, I was like, but I could see the fire station properly from the road. You know what that meant? They cut the bush on the walkover. And I did a video and I shared that. You see that, Trinidad and Tobago? When you open your mouth and you show them what foolishness that they're doing and you apply it to everyday life, you see how fast they went and cut that bush? Because I said a woman coming over here, even men coming over that walkover could be raped, murdered.
Yeah, you could be prey. You could be prey. And I really want to say that we have to stop looking for somebody else to save us. If there is something in your community that affects you, affects your safety, affects your quality of life, affects your family, then it is your job to talk about it, to write to your MP, to highlight it in some form or fashion so that we could get the problem resolved. The problem with us is that we are always waiting for somebody to
else.
save us.
Yeah.
We're always waiting for somebody else to save us. People is be glad when Philip talk, but if they call him and to tell him about something happening in their job, don't call my name, what not? Nobody wants to stand up. But we all have to put our shoulders to the wheel.
Yeah.
We all have to band together to rescue our country. So well done, Lims. I commend you on that.
Thank you.
Well done. Because we have tried everything else, and it seems the only way we get results is literally to embarrass the administration into action.
Yes, and more people need to do it. So, all right, guys. So our guest is here. So I'm going to let him in. Your mic is muted. Good morning. You hearing us though?
Yes,
Right.
I can hear you.
Okay. Good morning, David.
How are you guys? A lovely show, I must say. Miss Lemon, lovely show. I definitely love it. So I know that this is on the EP's Facebook page as well, and I'm a proud member now of the Progressive Empowerment Party.
Awesome sauce. Good morning, David. How are you doing?
I am well. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you for giving us some time this morning. Mm-hmm. And welcome aboard. I don't think we've met officially, but welcome aboard. And we really wanted to have you on this show to talk to you in your new capacity as Youth Armchair. And yeah, this is going to be like literally your platform because we kind of want to get to know you. What's your background? What would have been the impetus for you getting into politics and activism? Why the Progressive Empowerment Party? And what do you think your platform really could be in terms of young people?
Second to last question, why the Progressive Empowerment Party? The answer for that is simple. Why not the Progressive Empowerment Party?
I agree.
There's no other statement to put there. I think my new vision into politics is really to assist my generation and also obviously the older generation as well. Lima, you would know there's a wide range of young people that just don't vote at all because they don't see the reason to put their vote behind either the PNM or the UNC or any
Yeah.
other political party in Trinidad and Tobago. With the Progressive Empowerment Party, I find that a lot different because within the Progressive Empowerment Party, there is a wide range of young persons. When I went down there to the Couva, the opening of the Couva South office, there's a lot of young people that I saw enter the line of politics, and only simply because of what the Progressive Empowerment Parties offer them. All right. My team and I, we would have sat down and had a lengthy discussion about me entering politics through the Progressive Empowerment Party when the offer was made through the political leader, Philip Edward Alexander. And literally the answer that my team gave me was, why not the Progressive Empowerment Party? That's the answer they give me. Why not? Because
I love it.
when we look at policy, when we look at vision, when we look at diversification for Trinidad and Tobago, the only party that really offers that semblance of change and that semblance of safety and that semblance of respect, not just for young people, but for the majority of Trinidad and Tobago, that there is listed within the policies and the manifesto of the Progressive Empowerment Party to develop Trinidad and Tobago. And it doesn't speak about a sectoralization of development of Trinidad and Tobago, maybe like for San Fernando only or Port of Spain, like what they normally do for elections. For elections, the Prime Minister came and he had a plan for Moruga, Tableland, and he didn't bring a plan for the entirety of Trinidad and Tobago. The Progressive Empowerment Party brings that. When we speak about the water issue is not just affecting Port of Spain or San Fernando; it's affecting every single person in Trinidad and
Yep.
Tobago. And the Progressive Empowerment Party brings a plan to fix that, to capture water, something that we ain't doing, we're not doing in Trinidad and Tobago at all.
Yeah.
The Progressive Empowerment Party as well speaks about Lima, I don't know if you were there with the farmers when we went down there.
Yeah.
Right, you were there. The Progressive Empowerment Party speaks about a plan to fix the farming issue and to really look at food and food security as a matter of national security. That
Yes.
is affecting every individual in Trinidad and Tobago, and the Progressive Empowerment Party has a plan to address that. And that is why I said the Progressive Empowerment Party. Now, many persons would say that, well, other political parties, hence the United National Congress, where persons believe I came from, they said that, well, they're addressing those issues too. The problem that we see with the two political parties is there's a wide range of people that don't vote, that said no to both the PNM and also the United National Congress. As a young person and as a former young activist, it is my duty to represent every individual in Trinidad and Tobago. Most of my followers, most of the people that I meet on the outside, they say, "I'll support you in politics, but I can't support you under the umbrella of the UNC because that's not change. That's not changing the dynamics of Trinidad and Tobago. That's going back into the old days and just bringing the old days into the new days, and we just don't want that. We just don't want to have the same thing
Exactly.
over and over again." And
Exactly.
fresh blood is what we need. Having new faces inside of the parliament is what everyone has been speaking about. And there's such a difference that I have seen. I've only been within the insides for how long? Probably less than a month. And I have already seen that there's a mixture of young people as well as the needed older heads. Because the only way that we're going to take a country forward is with the energy of the young people, but the wisdom of the elderly.
Indeed. Well said.
Yeah, and that is there within the Sorry, oh gosh, that is there within the Progressive Empowerment Party. I was gonna say within the
Same.
United National Congress, there is a lot of the older heads that are still grabbing onto power. within
Not
the
letting go. Yes.
Empowerment Party, in the PEP, there's persons like Felicia Holder, there's you, Lima, there's Satish, there's now the introduction of myself as a youth leader, the Progressive Empowerment Party leader, Philip Edward Alexander. I have gotten time to meet majority of the executive crew there at the Progressive Empowerment Party, and it's such a mixture that I really and truly like. I really
Feel
love
good
the
about
mixture
it.
of the party. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, David. I wanted to ask you though, in the Progressive Empowerment Party, we are very focused on policy, right? But there seems to be a disconnect. I don't know how many people actually vote on policy, like with the PNM supporters or UNC supporters or whatnot. How do you think we could bridge that gap to get people to recognize that you have to start to vote for the things that actually affect your everyday life?
Well, we are in such times now where a lot of persons are now recognizing the failure of both the PNM and also the UNC, especially because of COVID-19. Some persons needed to be affected emotionally before they wake up and say, you know what, this really not benefiting me. And yeah, politics really plays a hand in so much that I do. And that is why it is so unique now to grab the attention of both the young generation, of obviously the elders as well, the middle age and all of them, and also most important to grab the attention of the non-voters. And I believe that if we look at the PDP in Tobago, I believe that's why they had such a victory across there, because they would have grabbed the attention and they would have campaigned in such a strategic way on COVID-19, because that really affecting a lot of persons. A lot of persons have the belief that the government is not doing what they're supposed to do and or is lying to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So we are in such a good time now that a lot of persons, and I'll be real, walking around the country now, stopping just to get gas. If you're in a taxi, you hear the people saying, you hear the people mostly speaking about politics, something that you didn't hear in a long time in Trinidad and Tobago. Lots of persons were of the view that, well, I don't vote, it doesn't matter, both of them I ain't voting. But now there's a lot of persons speaking about upcoming political parties. I can't make that. I can't make that up. Last night I was out and just an elderly guy walked up and said, "We tired." He knew me. He said, "Boy, we tired of both these political parties. It's time for new parties." I see likes of PEP coming, and he said, "God, PEP looking good." He spoke about PDP. He spoke about third forces. I didn't know Trinidad had so much third forces. He started just call names there, and I like, wow. Then he says a lot of persons that are looking on at different political parties, third options other than the PNM and other than the UNC. So I do believe that Trinidad and Tobago is slowly digressing to change, but it's gonna take really strength and energy to motivate others, the non-voters, to come out and say, you know what, this really affects us, and let's give a third party the chance to really bring about that level of change that we want to see in Trinidad and Tobago.
How
Well
do you
said.
plan to invigorate the younger
Yeah.
people to get them to go and get an ID? Because plenty of them don't even have the ID
To
to
vote, yeah.
vote.
Yeah. Well, we have. I was in the office just on Tuesday. Gone. I was there. I sat down there with my team, and we had a long discussion about what we want to do. In fact, we were having discussions even before the offer came with the Progressive Empowerment Party to really try and bring young people closer to the life of politics. Not necessarily to be a part of the politics, but to understand that it plays a crucial part in our lives. So one of the ideas that I can't say all of the ideas,
Yeah.
but we have a
Hold
strategy.
them close to your chest.
Well, we have a strategy in which we want to enroll through the Progressive Empowerment Party to really bring youths closer to
Okay.
the light politics and to the Progressive Empowerment Party, obviously. One of the ideas that we came up with was a massive event that is scheduled to be held in just a few months from now. We
Okay.
are liaising with behind the scenes now. We are liaising with sponsors. We are liaising with corporate Trinidad as well in order to get this activity out in full swing.
Wow,
And
Good.
what
that
we
is
were
awesome.
yeah, it's gonna be so massive that I don't even want to say anything about it to give the other political parties any ideas before the election. But it's
And
massive.
Love it.
good. That sounds good. What do you plan to say, or if in case you have encountered it already, people will say how you could thing with Philip boy. Philip so arrogant, or he saw this, or it have those racist ones who say we don't want no half Syrian. And we remember when he had say to kiss he half red
Yeah.
behind and da 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 da. How you respond to those people?
Hmm.
They are in the minority. Let's be real. I campaigned in 2020 for the election. Social media, all of social media was like, yeah, we voted this, we voted that, we voted the other. We're going down the road. So and PNM going, the election results came in, and social media votes didn't really count because it didn't make a massive difference. So these people are in the minority. However, I was on the ground with Christopher. He was a former PEP candidate for Movement,
Mm-hmm.
Liberty Movement. I was on the ground with him. Would you believe that one of my primary school teachers, when I went by her to see if she would be voting, she said, yes, I am voting. And I'm not voting for the PN or the UNC. I'm voting for the PEP. So
Yeah.
there is a wide range of persons in this country that don't they don't listen to the naysayers. I mean, those are the non-voters. They just don't care. The people that says Philip is a half Syrian and how you can stand he this that the other. Majority of Trinidad don't vote for the prime minister. We vote for our representative within our area. That's what we vote for. If you look at Diego Martin don't vote for the prime minister. They are a stronghold PNM. No matter who you put there, they will
Yeah.
vote for that,
Yeah.
right? The moment that we vote for a prime minister, we have a proportional system to elect a government. Then we could see differently. But at the moment, I could go up for PEP, I could go up for PDP, I could go up for a dog party. All they vote for is the person within the area. We do ever vote for a prime minister.
Hmm.
So that narrative with Philip is a half Syrian, or you too arrogant, or you too this, or you too that, it's a minority of persons that continuously saying that. I mean, when we look at Davies for the elections with Mr. Sami, he
Mm-hmm.
was able to wipe the PNM out of there. And that says a lot. That says that even persons in these areas where it's
Considered die hard, yes.
die hard, they are also like, you know what, this is not working for me. It's not working at all. So I'm not gonna be fazed by persons who say Philip is this and Philip is that and Philip is the other, because I know for a fact that they don't vote for prime minister, they vote for representation. And my job is to represent the people of either my area and also the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That's all it
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
let me just say this. I do believe that if given the chance of office in Trinidad and Tobago, the PP will do a magnificent job in setting out the foundation of change and also bringing change to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Totally
Well
agree.
said.
Well said. So we're gonna be having a couple of you talked about you teased an event to hook the young people. But what do you think are the issues that young people want to hear us speak on? What would actually give them the impetus to vote?
Definitely job security. That's a massive issue. Job security, food security also bothers a lot of young people. And the one that is most important, just simply leisure time, because a lot of persons, a lot of young people do believe that in Trinidad and Tobago there's not enough
Thing
activities.
to do. Yeah, it's true.
It's nothing. So, I mean, like the closure of Harry's Water Park, when the announcement of Movie Town being closed for the pandemic, a lot of persons, what are we gonna do? What we have to do in this country? Um, Definitely opportunities in the sense of academic activities. We lack that sporting activities, contact sports, and just these simple things that we see on the outside. You know, a lot of we now have access to our phones. It's astronomical now in 2022. A lot of persons went onto TikTok, went onto Facebook, and let me just give an example, all right? Because there's a lot to know. I mean, this will take a caucus and just for us to trash out our ideas and make something out of it. Let's look at TikTok. In the United States, for example, talent is recognized across there. You could be once you're a TikToker, you get like 100,000 views on TikTok. It is automatic. You are automatically on a billboard outside, and events are thrown, and and the state assists in that way.
Yeah.
Well, it will be private sector. They have that level of assistance across there. Across here in Trinidad and Tobago, the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, they don't recognize local talent.
No.
No.
We have a lot of talented TikTokers. Look at that song that was done with the Prime Minister. Right? That
Yeah.
was a, that,
I hate it and I love it, and I'm so conflicted.
exactly. And, we don't utilize talent in Trinidad. We don't nurture and grow talent. And a lot of youths are looking for that level of assistance. It doesn't even need to be by the government. It can be by the private sector. And that's why one of the things that I always recommend is private sector being main drivers of economic growth. But I'll have to look at what the party stance is for that, obviously. But I mean, come now, we don't grow and nurture talent. So I think one of the things that could be a talking point and a focus point for the Progressive Empowerment Party is to really nurture and grow young talent in Trinidad and Tobago,
Mm-hmm.
have the opportunity for jobs and job creation, because it's only the older heads that were saying, well, 50,000 jobs can't come from the United National Congress. But we can't speak about job creations in Trinidad and Tobago. We can't speak about diversification and some things that would really attract the young generation, leisure parks and activities, sporting activities, contact sports, development, rural development, local development. All these things interest young people,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, hope and opportunity are the pillars of the Progressive Empowerment Party. And we really believe that if the government just does what it's supposed to do, meaning that make sure that there is water in the taps 24/7 for everyone, infrastructure is good, education is good, healthcare is good, job creation, diversification of the economy, and food sustainability. Once the government does that and get out of the way, then the country will flourish. And seriously, it is such a shame that in 2022 people are still struggling with getting buckets and filling water and stuff like that. But once we get those things out of the way, I really believe that we could really blossom and flourish as a country. And what you say, David, is very correct. In the United States, it's such a remarkable country where people get scholarships to be cheerleaders, and we might think that that is really silly, but it is not. At the core of it, it's a talent or a skill that has been recognized, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this young person now does not have to try to be anything else but what they are and what they are good at. What we have now are a bunch of what they call it square pegs and round holes, or vice versa. We literally trying to clone all of our young people to be the same way, to do the same thing, and then there are no jobs for them. As,
Yeah.
as opposed to giving them the opportunities to explore their creative talents, whether it's musically or
Recycle them.
academically, or yeah. And we really, really, really need to do that. I remember one time we were in a walk in Chaguanas, and I was talking to a young man, just kind of rattling off policy and whatnot. And as soon as I spoke about education, because we always talk about building purposeful schools that lead into careers and jobs. As soon as I said that, his eyes lit up and he said, yes, I would love that, because right now I'm thinking when I'm finished A levels, I'm going to migrate And the young people, they don't want to have to leave their country, but they want to go where the opportunities are. And if we could provide the opportunities here and stop the brain drain, then we could be such a great country.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. You remember a long time they used to have soccer picnic and they would have the DJ sound offs while the teams playing football. You're seeing DJs competing, and that was when jugglers and all of them now started to come out, right? So jugglers, and it had a whole set of them that came out around the same time, and you're hearing sound off, and then everybody jump out themselves now because they're big. Five Star Akil and all of them. They came from that generation. We don't have things like that, and we are a culture where we push soca artists and these local dancehall people. Where is their space to do that now?
The
So,
space,
right.
the opportunity, the
Yeah.
funding, the training.
You
Yeah.
remember when the young guys came up with that rhythm, and I think Bungie took the rhythm for their songs or
Yeah.
something like that? Where is that? Why they don't have that as a yearly competition? Come up with a rhythm, the best rhythm that win. Whoever is the reigning soca artist would use it at that point in time to sing, and you would come and be in the background somewhere or play, do whatever. Why we don't have things like that? That's part of our culture.
Yeah, we definitely need more of that for sure. For
Agreed.
sure.
We don't have much cultural activities either. Do we teach history in school? Because I feel like we.
The thing is
That's,
that
that's another
history,
thing.
history that is taught is slavery, indentureship, and thing, right?
It's
And
still Christopher Columbus
it's
discovered
still,
Trinidad.
it is still that
Why?
type of history. It hasn't evolved from that to our history now as well. And they haven't made our history fun and educational. I went to a museum in Germany where you could go in and sit down and the walls turn. And while the walls turning, you go through World War One, World War Two, and then whatever other things the country went through. And I was saying, wow, why we don't have that up in Fort George, where you go up there and you could see the battle between the British and Spain for Trinidad when the British invaded through Invaders Bay, or was it Spain that invaded, whichever one? Because history right now, I
No.
get it. Okay, I'm reaching that point, right? I don't remember it, right? But why we don't have those visuals for our children to see? So while they're reading the history textbook, you could go and see it and be like, wow, look how they did it. Fire off the cannons. It would have been something that is something so interesting. Children would want to see that.
True.
And all the different aspects of our history, the indentured laborers, the slave trade, all these different things. Why we not doing that? Why we not showing people our culture, how we wire bend and make tantan and saga boy, set up Napa like a museum where you could go and check out all the king and queens, you're hearing the music. Down to the airport, there's nothing trini about our airport. You come off and you don't even hear pan, you don't hear soca, you don't hear nothing. You're just hearing the speaker, and very muffled too, telling you about whatever flight leaving.
Yeah. No, self-loathing is a hell of a thing. I mean, Mia Motley identified it, and she talked about the fact that Caribbean people, especially, we have this mentality where we feel we don't have anything of value to give, given our history, and whatnot. And that is exactly it. If we don't see our history as valuable and knowing yourself as valuable and your place like in on the world scale, if you don't understand that, it's why we have um all these issues and all these problems, and we really need to get away from that, and we really need a government installed that truly values education. I mean, I honestly believe that what has happened in Trinidad and Tobago is that our leaders have been afraid of a intelligent populace. They are afraid of people who understand their rights, know their rights and whatnot. And a lot of what we experience is just to maintain the status quo. You keep people down, you keep them undereducated, you keep them, because that is in your favor. But I believe that the more you empower your citizens, the more you make sure that their education is a priority and stuff like that, can only help all of us, because that is how innovations will come out and new inventions and changes in technology, and we could contribute, but we have never been given the opportunity to contribute.
Correct. Well, now they will be given that opportunity, or we will be given that opportunity to contribute and to also take the pace of our country, our sweet Trinidad and Tobago. So yeah.
Indeed,
What do
for
you
sure.
think about our race issues? Because I'm sure you would have seen it where on social media you see a lot of comments, your kind, your people, them so, all your prime minister, all your this. How you plan to, like, I don't want to say deal with it because you wouldn't really have to deal with it, but what is your message to Trinidad and Tobago concerning that?
I have only experienced that on social media, a wide range
Really?
of reasons off social media. Have you experienced that off social media in the office or in the streets? Because I have not.
I haven't, but I also don't know if it's people just afraid to hear me respond to that.
Or maybe the keyboard warriors. It could be it could be the keyboard warriors
I
that
have actually found that um older traditional heads, what they are more concerned about things like that. I
Yeah.
feel like young people now don't care about that. Honestly, really and truly, I don't care who's running the country as long as it works.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we could tap into that, that could be really, really powerful. I don't think young people are strung up about their leader having to look like them or having to have the same skin tone or hair. I don't think young people are concerned about it. I think they want the country to work. They want to know that education that feeds into jobs, that feeds into careers, that feeds into a good quality of life. I think that is what people are looking at, not needing an excuse to leave the country to reach your full potential. That is all young people are concerned about, that you could buy a home and raise a family here and not have to be scared for your life because crime is so ridiculous, or
Yeah.
being able to afford a home. So I believe we actually have a lot of policies that will address a lot of pain points for a lot of people, and really and truly is to change the hearts and minds of the older ones, people who care about that, like my mom generation and stuff like that, who still believe somehow that
your leader have
that
to
is
look.
important. Yeah, like I had an older relative tell me, well, I will never vote for UNC because they are Hindus and whatnot. And I was like, but that has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with competence in the job itself. I ain't telling anybody go and vote for UNC. I'm just saying that this is where we have come from, where people do not even look at policies. They're not even voting on the issues that affect you. And this same person has to wait to get truck borne water because you're paying your water bill, but you ain't getting no water in your tap and whatnot, and not voting on the issues. So I feel if we could just hone in on the things that affect people, for at
Yeah.
least the young people, that is a given. Older ones, we might have a bit of an uphill battle.
Yes. Yes, we
Right.
would.
Yeah, that's true. And a lot of young people, they really don't care. So I emphasize the points that you made there. I have a friend that does podcast, and he told me that he don't care who run the country, as long as it work as
As
all.
long as it works. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and the point is roughly almost, well, everything is exactly what young people are saying outside here in Trinidad and Tobago. So now we're here to deal with that, and well, competence is definitely needed. So
Well, that's good.
Ah, well said, well said. David, before you go, um, Lima and I were talking before about the 15-year-old Aliyah Candace Alexander, who succumbed to, I guess, blunt force trauma because she was being disciplined by a relative. And
Discipline.
we have our different thoughts on it, but I thought I'd give you opportunity to speak on that. What do you think about that situation?
Um, Firstly, I only got a glimpse of it. I was not able to look at the situation in its entirety,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because joining the Progressive Empowerment Party was, well, there is a lot to do.
They're
There was a
keeping you
lot.
busy. Yes, I
Yeah,
know a lot.
but I did get time to listen to the mother. She did she spoke with the media just a few days ago. Or it wasn't yesterday. Well, I saw the video yesterday night, and this it is heart wrenching. A lot of persons need that level of assistance in Trinidad and Tobago, and we need a safety net to fall onto and not to take matters into our own hands as adults. Because the father said that it's he don't hit the children, and the mother was saying, it's his first time hitting the girl, and he I mean, men have a level of strength that comes with it as well, and I find the situation, the whole thing, to be really sad. The facts are still coming in as to exactly what happened.
And very sketchy, yes.
Yeah, it will be under police investigation as well. So I'll allow the investigations to continue. But as of now, the only thing we can really do is offer that level of assistance to the family, offer that level of support to the family as well, because this is difficult times. I mean, we're in Trinidad
Oh,
and Tobago, where crime against women and crime on the whole is astronomical. So to go through something like this, and especially for our servicemen as well, it's really, 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 really tough. One of the issues that we also need to address in Trinidad and Tobago is the issue within the protective services, because a lot of servicemen go through that level of stress. And one of the things that could have possibly happened was he given all of his emotions and anger and put it
frustration.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, because I spoke to a serviceman a couple weeks ago. Actually, he's working within the Coast Guard, and he did say that a lot of the members there in the Coast Guard, they have a lot of mental issues as well, and they have a lot of stress. So much so that he told me during the pandemic, early on, when the Prime Minister would have locked down, one of the Coast Guard members would have just taken their firearm and start shooting into the air just to relieve that level of stress. That was under investigations by the president, and he told me these things. He said exactly what goes on, sorry, in the protective services, and he would have mentioned to me that a lot of the men in the Coast Guard and in the protective services, they would go home and relieve that stress in any way that they can, either hitting a woman or doing those type of stuff. But I'm saying all of this to say that there's always two sides to a story. Well,
Yep.
now three sides. There's your side, my side, and then there's the truth.
And the truth, yeah.
But
Yeah, but
this
unfortunately, we wouldn't get the truth from the protective services because they would prefer to lie.
correct. Sadly, sad reality.
I
But
mean,
this
I
situation
love,
is very, very sad. The 50-year-old
yeah,
old she is gone today. God rest her soul.
hustle.
The only thing we can do at the moment is really offer that level of assistance and not spread, propaganda or speculate about the whole issue. Because
I
it
love
only
your perspective, David. I love it. I also believe that what you're saying about support, and the mother admitted that she was frustrated and she was at her wit's end. She didn't know what to
absolutely
do with her daughter. She said she wasn't listening. She tried different things, and then she took it to this relative who happened to be in the protective services, for him to discipline the child. And there are a lot of things I'm thinking about. I'm like, all right, so when your kids get into teenage years, what support systems are in place in
No, but
terms
before we reach there, Hadassah, right? Remember, this was COVID. There was no stress on mental health for all the children,
yep,
for your teenagers,
yep,
nothing.
yep.
When she could have probably played football or go
But
and
I was
relieve
just
her
going to say
stress
that. I
or
was just going to say
whatever, there
that.
was none of that.
I'm just gonna say that, was she an active child? Was she a swimmer? Was she playing football or whatnot? A lot of these things were removed. We also talk a lot about mental health, and probably that relative was not in the best frame of mind to
Yeah.
treat with
Yeah.
her, and it something would have triggered with him, and he couldn't stop himself. And now we have, so there are a lot of points where you could see, all right, the system did fail. And I also want to stress, I believe as a society, we need to move away from the idea that the only way to discipline your child is to
It's
beat
late.
your child. I feel like that is still remnants of our slavery
Colonial.
days, of colonial
Yeah.
days, or whatnot. There is no other culture in the world that glorifies beating their children the way that we do, and we need to move away from it. And if you've tried one thing, try something else. See if you could get help. And that's what I was talking about in terms of the system. What else could have this mother done? Was there a service within the police service that she could have gone to get help? Could she have enrolled her in some program? We don't know, but we have to look at it, because it's not okay for this to happen and then there is no improvement coming out of it.
Well, there's no
Can't be allowed to
simple,
happen again.
yeah, there's no simple fix to deal with issues like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes all children want, and I can say it cleanly because
Just
taking
some
up
love
the
and attention.
yeah, taking up the job of youth it comes with a lot of stress. Taking up the job as an activist comes with a lot of stress because now you're not only just taking on yours, you're taking on other people's stress as well. One of the things that I need and still searching for is someone to relieve that stress on too. Some young people, they just simply want someone to really talk to, and that someone may fall outside of the mother and father category
Yep.
because
Yeah.
there's a level of a level of how to say it. It's not fair, but disgust. To speak to your mother or not. Well,
Yeah.
shame to speak to your mother or father about it or someone that you truly know. So
That's
if
too because of the relationship some parents have, where
yeah,
they don't know how to balance you could come and talk to me about anything and me disciplining the
yeah.
child. Or how your parents will react if you come and tell them you do something wrong.
Correct. Well, parents, firstly, in Trinidad, mainly don't understand that you are supposed to be that child's best friend as well as mother. That's your responsibility because most of my years have been spent with you. So you were supposed to be there as
You
my
would think
best
so.
friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That
we
you
Not
would
have
be
that
the
culture
default.
where you are the child, you do as I say, that kind of stupid mentality that we have too. So some parents haven't learned, and then our social fabric just destroying and social development. So it's a huge overarching problem that we have to deal with from development, education. Because I mean, what was so bad that she was doing that she needed to be disciplined like that?
Mm,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right? I mean, if it's education, then that's not necessarily the child's fault. It's our education system that needs to change. And we can't punish children for that. The system itself is flawed.
It's a lot. I mean, we always talk about it, that it's a lot when you start to delve into it. But you ever like wash clothes on a Sunday and your whole bed is a mountain of clothes, and the only way to deal with it is one piece of clothing at a time, fold it, hang it up one at a time, and that's what we. And I kind of feel like we have had administration come, administration go, administration come, and nobody has been willing to accept the task or the challenge of, okay, how can we fix it systemically from the root, and to make sure that there are all these stops along the way, so that young people wouldn't feel that this is the way that they have to go. And again, we don't have options. We don't have options when it comes to jobs. We don't have options when it comes to entertainment. We don't have options. We don't have options. And
Yeah.
we have been yeah, we have been slack in terms of doing that. We have been doing that. And I always say, if it is, we have done all. We have done everything that we could possibly do. And then we still have these issues coming out. Then you could probably throw your hands up and say, I've done all. But we haven't done all. So then we are not in a position to be decrying people and saying, oh, mommy, nice child, sarcastically on Facebook, because we have not done all. We have not given our young people all the tools, all the skills, all the opportunities. We have not done that.
Correct. So
David, by chance, did you ever think about migrating?
Yes, every day.
Every day. Thank you.
But what keeps you here then? Because I mean, you don't have children or anything, so you don't really have that
love of country, man.
Okay. No, I just can't leave. That's the thing. If I leave, because when you leave, you want to come back home, definitely. You don't just want to leave home forever.
Yeah.
And then, there's this vaccine mandate to come back home. I'm not taking tests. I can't phantom sticking something in my nozzles or throat. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Necessary evil. Anyway, this has been a really good talk this morning. Any closing remarks, David?
I think in closing, I would like to make one massive message to Trinidad and Tobago. There's no real perfect political party. I mean, every political party would have its ups and its downs. Okay, every single political party. But when you choose a political party that just have downs, I mean, you really have to question yourself and question why you continuously keep voting for bad policies, bad management, and just hypocrisy. I am saying today that making the step to change is the best thing that anybody could ever do for themselves and also do for their neighbors. Right now, we always talk about being our brothers' keepers in Trinidad and Tobago. I'd start by saying today we need to really be our own keepers first. We need to get our house in order, and then we can see about other person homes as well, or assisting in making life better for other persons in Trinidad and Tobago. The first step in doing that is by recognizing that what we need is change in Trinidad and Tobago. We wanted young blood, we've got it. We have a dynamic team at the Progressive Empowerment Party. We have a dynamic political leader. Philip is a dynamic person. If you've ever sat down and spoken with Philip, he is always ready to help. I recall going to the office before I was even a part of the Progressive Empowerment Party. As I walk in, Philip said, Felicia, get David something to eat. Get him, go and get this. What do you want? You want this? You want that? He's really a dynamic person and a loving person. In real life, many of us have only spoken with Philip on social media and saw his live broadcast. But we have the difference with the Progressive Empowerment Party to the United National Congress or to the People's National Movement or to any other third party is that PEP is here in your faces each and every single day, and getting to know any of the member, whether Felicia, whether yourself, Lima, whether myself, whether Philip, whether anyone, is very easy because anyone can walk into Grab and Go and say, let me have a meeting with Philip. That's just the type of person he is. So I would tell the persons that are watching this and also tell Trinidad and Tobago that there's no real perfect political party. The Progressive Empowerment Party will have its ups and its downs. But the only difference with us is that we offer and we are really dedicated to changing Trinidad and Tobago for ourselves and also for the greater good of Trinidad and Tobago. So that's my closing remarks, and we'll see you for local election. Rowling, PDP, all of them, we see in all there for local election and PDP out and bad. I'm saying it again.
Indeed. Indeed. Limbs?
Thank you for joining us, David. So, well, this was very good. We need to get more youth interested in politics, and I think this is the perfect way to get that gap secure and that voice for the youth. So this is a good step. And we have the best person for it too.
I like what he talked about accessibility. A lot of our leaders are not accessible. You have to talk to 5 people, set up a meeting, go. They probably wouldn't be there, and whatnot. But we pride on ourselves on being very accessible. And I feel like that is the only way that you could understand and hear what is happening on the ground and know the issues that are affecting people every single day. And if you're looking for a new political home, so to speak, I think you should consider that as well. Who would speak to your needs, and who really cares about the fact that you don't have water for 5 weeks and things like that. Let's really make it realistic. There are a lot of airy-fairy talk when it comes to about leadership or being charismatic and whatnot. And at the end of the day, the only thing we need really is performance.
Correct.
That is it. That is it. A leader with vision and somebody who can actually execute what they say and what they promise. So it was awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys.
That's just on something you said there, a leader with vision. You have a team with vision, and that will lead Trinidad and Tobago somewhere else. Because just one point, I was in the caucus meeting with Mr. Alexander on my first day as Utah leader of the Progressive Empowerment Party, and we had a caucus with Felicia, Sean was there, Satish was there. I don't know if you was there, Lima. I didn't see you there, but I saw the team was there around the caucus, and Philip spoke about some of the visions for the Progressive Empowerment Party. One of the things that he put on the table from day one was the fact that everyone has a voice here, and all ideas will be taken into consideration, and no idea is a bad idea. I know in the PNM it's not so, it's what Rowley say goes, but I love that it's a team with vision and not just a leader with vision.
Indeed. Well said. All right. Well, this is the end of our program today, guys. I hope everybody has a happy and safe and productive weekend. And we will be back again on Monday with another episode of Pep Talks in the morning. Bye.
Bye.